Alright, time to have some more fun with White Weenie in a Pauper Daily. This is number 3 now. I still really like this deck. I've been really liking it since I picked it up, and I've been winning pretty consistently with it. I'm gonna take it through another daily, but first I'm gonna go over the few changes that I've made that I think have been for the better. Well, first of all, the first change is in the height of my recording screen. I am on a laptop with a smaller screen than I used to be, so for those past two videos, you haven't been able to watch the video in HD. I don't know if you've noticed, because the height of the recording screen was less than 720 pixels. But I've changed my screen around a bit. I actually put my desktop bar to the right of the screen so I could extend the vertical size of MTGO, and I managed to just fit it in. It's now 721 pixels, and it's the entire height of the screen. So that was good that I managed to do that, and now you can watch it in HD. Now for deck changes, I made the deck a little bit more consistent. Not that the consistency was too much of a problem, just because I think I found out which cards were better than others, and I put more of those cards in. I have taken out the other one-drop suspend guys. I've already forgotten their names. Just because that was, I think, by far the worst card in the deck. I didn't have time to keep pumping them up a lot of the times, and when you have them and you have no other threats, and they don't have any removal spell, and they have small creatures, and they don't have a bunch of chump blockers, and you have time to pump him up, then it's really good. That doesn't happen very often, and against most decks I was starting him out anyway. So, having played with him for a very long time, he was in my original build, and I've been playing him since then, and when I picked it back up, I've still been playing with him. So I've had a lot of experience with him, and I just don't think he's going to make the cut. So I took him out, and we now have no pump guys. We have no mana sinks at all, which I really don't think is a problem in this deck. I've never had... I mean, I obviously have had too much mana where I've gotten mana flooded, but not so much... like, there's never been a situation where I've been mana flooded and had have thought, well, if I had have just drawn one of my mana creatures, then I'd be back in this, because in any situation like that, you're drawing lands instead of spells, so you have very few spells. So if one of your only spells is a guy that you can pump up, then all it takes is one removal spell, and which they won't have used on the other cards you drew, which were all lands, and then you're back to where you began. So I took them out, being the worst cards in the deck, and I added in the Journey to Nowhere that was in the sideboard. I brought it back up here, and I went up to the full 4 Knights. And that's the only main deck changes, I'm pretty sure. Onto the sideboard, I took out the Dust to Dust. I faced one affinity deck in any of the 2-mans, dailies, and practice rounds I've done so far. And I brought them in and didn't draw any, which obviously is a very small sample size, doesn't mean anything. But while I was playing the game, I was thinking, okay, so if I drew one of these, it would be pretty good. It probably wouldn't win at the point where I'd gotten so far that no matter what card I drew, I wouldn't win, because they'd already gone off and had too many guys. I guess if I drew it early and played it turn 3, getting 2 lands or a land and one of his guys, I guess that'd be pretty good. Or if I drew multiple, that would be great. But having a sideboard card that is good against one deck and only one deck, and it's a deck that not many people play, although it is played, and it's not a total hoser, you can't just draw one and instantly win the game, I don't think that's a good sideboard card. So I took them out, and I put in Benevolent Unicorns, which go in multiple matchups. So they're more versatile. They go in as decent value cards against mono red burn, because they're just another guy that forces them to waste a removal spell on, so it's just taking one of the burn out of their hand. So against red burn now, I incidentally have 10 sideboard cards that are just good in other matchups, which also happen to be have minor value in burn, and that's the Unicorns, the Stand Bearers, and the Suture Priests. All 3 of those, they have to direct burn to them, which just makes me gain life. It gives them 3 life apiece for each of these cards, which is, what you want your cards to do. Once they run out of burn spells, then they're totally out of gas, they can't refuel, and that's the end of the game. So they work against red burn pretty well, and what they're also in there for is obviously Storm combo. It completely negates every copy of Grape Shot, so the entire Grape Shot does 0 damage, and it's not damage prevention, so Flaring Pain doesn't do anything. I have a bit of an issue with having 4 Suture Priests and 3 Benevolent Unicorns in my sideboard for combo Storm. I'm okay with it because they're also good in other matchups. Suture Priest being great in Tortured Existence decks, and Benevolent Unicorn being okay against Mono Red Burn. But another reason why I'm a bit hesitant at doing this, I haven't actually tried it yet, but I'm thinking through the games in my head, and to draw both a Suture Priest and a Benevolent Unicorn, you can only play one on turn 2, then they have to not go off the next turn, and then play another one turn 3, and then you've locked them out of the game. Either one of them has only half locked them out of the game, and they can still kill you with the other one, which has happened to me a few times before. You need both of cards. It's a 2-card combo. You need to draw both to lock them out of the game, and you need to play them over 2 turns. It just doesn't seem like the best answer to me, but it's the best one that I have available that I can think of. So, because I'm having such trouble with that matchup, I put them in. Like that. I also, I think I may have only had 2 Standard Bearers before. I'm not sure. Whatever the case, I had 3 Crimson Acolytes, and now I have 2 because I upped one of the other cards, because Crimson Acolytes is good, but the decks that the other cards are good against are more often played than the decks that Crimson Acolyte is good against. So I just made the numbers fit the metagame. One other thing I wanted to talk about was the Frantic Storm matchup, the sideboard against that. I have no cards against it. That's because, I mean, I thought through a lot of cards. I thought about the matchup and what I could sideboard, and I just can't see anything that would give me that much of an advantage. So much that I would want to put a spot specifically in for that one deck. It is a very hard matchup, and I usually lose probably 90% of the time. It's very hard for White Weenie to win against it, and so I want to find some sideboard cards, but I can't think of any. I have thought of one which I wanted to try out, but I'm giving this sideboard a go first, and that is Brave the Elements. The thing is, I can always get them close to dying. I can always get them less than 10 health, or usually, before they storm up, bounce all my guys, and then I just can't play any more of my guys because all my land is in my hand, all my guys are in my hand, and I have no aggression. And I can use a bodyguard to save 1, but that's usually not good enough. Now, 1 usually can't take me there. Brave the Elements would stop all of my creatures from being bounced, and they could go in for one last kill. One last swing to get in through the air and kill them. The problem with that is, it's not a hoser. So I would have to put in a bunch, because I would have to draw it against that deck, because putting in 1 basically doesn't improve my percentage chance by much at all. I want to be able to draw it consistently, so I have to put in a few, like at least 3. And they're only good against that deck. They're not good against any other decks. I guess they'd be minorly good against Mono Black Control, but only like to the same extent that Unicorn would be good. It would take away a single removal spell. It would also let you push through some damage if you needed to, but most of your guys are in the air anyway, and so you generally don't need to push through damage against that deck. So really all it would be in there for is the Frantic Storm deck. And it's not a hoser for that deck, which is generally not a good recipe for a sideboard card. A card that is good if you draw it, but doesn't win you the game on the spot, and is only against one deck, is not something I want to have in my sideboard. But I do want to give it a try, just to see if it does work as well as I think it might. Because you can also use it to push through that last bit of damage, because everyone in the air is blue. So you can just name blue, and all your air guys can suddenly get through for that last little bit. So yeah, I did want to try out that, but I'm not trying it out for this daily. And that's all I wanted to say about the deck. So I'm going to jump right in and see how I go.